I mean, who cares about his concept if you're a badass monster girl waifu, right? So, hello everyone, Myrmonden here. Today I want to review episode 1 and 2 the end, talking about the Isekai. That is arguably the best new Isekai season now. Tsuki ga Michibiku Isekai Dōchū, or Tsukimichi by Moonlit Fantasy. Yeah. Which, I've talked about it briefly why I haven't reacted to it yet, but it's like, man, this Isekai is actually really good. It's actually probably, I think, the best Isekai of all the new Isekai. And this has so many Isekais, right? We have, of course, Spirit Chronicles, right? We have Realist Hero, Black Company, and so on. And in my opinion, this is probably the finest Isekai, and then is Black Company. One of these two, right? They kind of very different, right? Like in Black Company, he's like the evil main character, right, and so on. And for example, I said it last week too, but if I compare Black Company, right, to Realist Hero, they're very similar, like Isekai but making money. Well, Black Company Maker is like 10 times funnier, because it's a bad guy trying to make money, right, versus the douchuu guy. Yeah, like, of course it'll be funny, right? But this anime, I guess, I'm mostly compared to Spirit Chronicles, and I feel this anime is like light years better, okay? And then we have Sheet Life, used to have a cute wolf girl. That anime is kind of like on the side, right? Like a slice of life, fun. But anyway, what is this anime? Why is this better then? Well, waifus. I think primarily it's because of the waifus. No, but seriously. So, who doesn't want a thirsty dragon waifu? It also airs just before Dragon Maid, so. But you have an Isekai, right? You need to have a harem in almost every Isekai. And yeah, dragon waifus are very popular, I feel. I made a game, let's see, that was a few years ago. I made one game, and I even had used a dragon waifu called Ryoko, right? So it was one of the playable characters. Hot, sexy, of course, dragon waifu. Named Ryoko, right? With Ryu no Ko. Then the crazy boss was like, no one will ever get that reference. And I was like, what's wrong with you? And he forced me to make it a Swedish name instead. So she's then called Draka instead, which is like Drake is dragon in Swedish, right? So that's basically like Ryoko in Swedish. So I was like, I guess. But anyway, dragon waifus, man. But no, but seriously, the first scene there that I first showed, right? Episode 1, I think was really good, this anime. Episode 2, I think, was hilarious. Episode 2 is probably the best new Isekai, I think, so far this season, right? But episode 2 is like, you get his new wife then, Shen, right? Shen Long, obviously Dragon Ball, yeah. Shen Long, and she is a super thirsty, very thirsty waifu that's like, oh yeah, I turned into a human now because I read your mind, so her power is basically, she can like read people's mind, right? Put them in some kind of bliss or whatever, and she fights in the main character, which is of course the OP, but whatever, to the later. And she sees his life, it's like, whoa, you're Isekai character, I wanna be your wife, so I can like, read your mind all the time, right, and learn about Earth, right? So she's like, let's make some kind of, contract, marriage thing, right? Like soul bond, It's actually, it reminds me of Rick and Morty, if you've seen the slut dragon Rick and Morty. Yeah, she's like, let's become like, a soul bond thing, right? And yeah, and afterwards she said, probably, I think by far, the thirstiest wife of the season. Except maybe the other harem show where everyone is basically a hentai character. But of the Isekai, certainly Shen is thirsty one. Of the new ones, I mean, obviously we have Slime, right? We have Shion, and yeah, she's pretty thirsty. But of the new Isekais, by far I think Shen is the best waifu. And in episode 2, then, obviously some spoiler here, very general spoilers. In episode 2, we have the next wife, it's a spider lady, and Arachne, the spider lady appears as Monster Girls Supreme, right? And Shen is basically like, oh, why don't you also become his wife, right? We can both be his like master slave wife thing. It's perfect for us, You know me, girl. And she's like, I guess. I mean, because the spiders really love with him too. Right? Oh yeah, I guess I kind of want to smash him. Yeah. So, but and then Shen tells him, why don't you just transform yourself like I have? Just make like a soul bondage contract with him, right? Soul bondage stuff, right? You just do that. And you're gonna be, you can share him. I can share. I like that. It's gonna be fun. The more the merrier, right? And then we have the scene, so the first thing then, where the spider lady is like, what about his consent? Like, isn't that kind of like forcing me to become his wife? It's kind of like kind of sexual, harass, yeah. But of course, Shen is like, that's awesome. Let's do it. She's like, oh yeah, just do it, girl. And of course, she does it, right? So that scene for me was hilarious, right? But I felt that's also why anime think is really funny, because it kind of touches on that you know, Kazuma kind of Konosuba vibe, right? Where it's like gender equality, baby. She's like, let's go with it, and so on. But yeah, so I think this anime, especially if you like really thirsty waifus, right? It's like, oh, whoa, this is much more thirsty, more in the line of like Monster Musume, right, or whatever. Like, where they're actually trying to smash the main character, I feel constantly. Yeah, now I really like that. So that I think is the primary good part of this anime, honestly. Yeah, it has really thirsty waifus that really want to do it with him all the time. Right? I expect this to be the main driving plot of the anime, right? No, but it's much more isekai harem, right? And who doesn't like that? And again, monster girls. As an anime, of course, it is a very, I don't say generic, but it's kind of like the one story. It is a OP fantasy anime, right? We have the main character. He is super powerful. They explain it basically like, well, you grew up in other gravity or something, or like magical limitation gravity. So now you're on this planet, you're like 10 million times stronger. So basically the premise is that he's ugly, kinda, I guess. So the goddess is like, I don't want to help you. Can I get the Konosuba to like, oh, screw you, ugly guy, right? It kind of gives him like a BS power and throws him down to earth. Like, whatever, I don't care about you, yeah. But because of his that he's from Earth, basically, right? That makes him like an OP character, apparently, because Earth is like magical gravity, right? So when you left Earth, you just get like 100 times stronger. So even if she gives him like a bad power, right? He's still so much stronger than everything else. So yeah, it's a classic, you know, isekai OP fantasy, right? Similar to, of course, Slime or whatever, where you have, you know, the main character super powerful. I mean, certainly. But I think this anime really excels that. It's just a comedy, right? Yeah, it's the comedy. Again, it's the waifus mostly. But of course, it's gonna have these kind of jokes, so people are impressed by him and so on, and he can fight and stuff like that. But I think one thing that I actually really like this anime is that it really is not a self-insert anime. Self-insert, right? Self-insert, I think, is a huge issue in isekais generally today. And it's been an issue for years, I think. The more generic, the more usually self-insert they are. Or do you have two different kinds of self-insert as support in narration, right? You have to have the author truly insert himself into the storyline, right? But then you also have generally the author is making a character that has no personality, and then the viewer should feel that. And I think most isekai, unfortunately, fall in this category, right? So, for example, Spirit Chronicles season, that I think is a very boring main character. Basically, the main character has no personality. And the reason they've written that is because the main character is supposed to be like, oh, if I died, right, the viewer, if I died, the viewer, I would be that guy. I would be your P, and it would be me in that station, right? And one comment I had on my video about Chronicles, someone wrote, so I wrote them now, I think it was glorious, because there was like, this guy is no Rudius, right? So obviously my favorite isekai this year, I mean, is Mush-Tensei, right? So this is an amazing isekai, ridiculously good isekai. This isekai is good, but it's no Mush-Tensei. And that thing that Rudius, that guy really is a character, right, in another world. So you really feel he's from Earth. There's all issues I want to talk about it in length earlier. But here, I think in a similar vein. Obviously, this guy isn't like a pervy, you know, Rudius guy, but he's kind of, shut up, you know, wife, you're super annoying, right? Yeah, leave me alone. Don't invite this orcs to my home. You know, I don't want to do that shit and so on. So this is why I like this character a lot more too, right? Yeah, the ugly isekai here. Because he actually fights with his wife, right? He kind of gets into argument with his spider wife, right? He doesn't really want to help the orc. There's like an orc lady. I don't want to be that guy, but he's like, oh, she's so ugly, kind of, you know, I don't want to be... He's like, I don't want to spend time too much with this orc woman, right? Because then she will be in my harem. I don't want to have like an ugly harem, you know, character. So he's like, I want to avoid that, you know. So that's what I mean. Like, this guy, he has personality, right? I mean, again, he's not, yeah, I don't think he's like as good as Rudius, right? But it's definitely in that kind of, in that vein, right? In that kind of, in that direction. And that, to me, is so much better. Where, again, then you have other isekais. I don't want to, you know, like, throw this kind of much, right? But I think a lot of isekais, you're gonna have the issue with, yeah, this is like, you're supposed to kind of imagine yourself dying, right? Like, eighth son, same thing, I think. It's kind of like, well, what if I died and became the eighth son of an isekai world? I would be, you know, it's kind of like that, right? And this is what I want a lot more of. The character has his own personality, it's written so much, and as I mentioned, that's why I like Black Company. These or Black Company, right? Making Company are my number one or / number two isekai, because Black Company, same day, yeah, capitalist genius guy, right? That is a douchebag, yeah. much personality. Obviously, I always loved, Konosuba and so on more, right? Because Kazuma has a great personality. Yeah, great, but you know what I mean? Great as a character personality, right? Obviously, I will say just that. That is much more interesting. So I like that too. He's like, as he's trying to avoid getting a waifu, the ugly waifu, right? He's trying to not help them and so on. He's trying to get away from this shit, right? And then also getting pissed off that Shen for not helping him fighting his new, the spider wife and so on. So that kind of stuff to me just makes the character so much more enjoyable because it's an actual character. And I guess, at least from me, my personal standpoint, I am not watching Isekai's post in that argument for, like, believe it could have been me, right? I want to see how someone else acts, right? And it's kind of interesting, let's point here, as both already Isekais mentioned earlier, realist hero, Seirei Isekai this season. I think that is kind of a weird self-insert Isekai thing, because while that guy has, like, economical skills, right? So he's not like a random average person, because he's clearly much better at economy and, like, stats and so on. But otherwise, he doesn't have much of personality. He's like, I am a work guy and I believe in people's skills. And he's very basic, right? He has like his skills. So I would argue he's also basically just like a very bland put yourself into his position kind of character too, right? And also most of his skills are very based on his modern life. They're not really based on him being a genius or whatever. He's no Senku, right? For example, right? So compare that to anime. It's like to Stone, they put Senku in him, and Senku would build a freaking rocket launcher by now. He would build the mobile phone, yeah. So this is, I think, it's a much better, more interesting Isekai. Right? So yeah, I don't know. I personally think it's probably the best Isekai this season. Of course, I'm a little bit facetious here. I'm not talking about the news, right? Yeah, maybe. I mean, personally, of course, Baccarina is my number one. And then Slime and so on, right? So, I mean, I'm not talking about I'm not including Sequel, I suppose. But yeah, since like Mushitenshi, this is probably going to be my number two of these like more action fantasy isekais. As I mentioned slightly, I think it's fair to not really compare these kind of shows to something like Sheet Life. Where it's just supposed to be, he's a guy, he has a portion shop, and that is, I think, is good too. I think it's good too, yeah. He's just like living with his wolf girl and ghost girl, trying to make money, kinda, yeah. But they don't really have there's no drama, right? There's no action whatsoever. It's just like, it's gonna, the isekai genre. So I think that genre is kind of like out of the side, right? It's an isekai, but it's so different genre that I think it's hard to compare it to. But of this action isekais, after the potential, this is probably the number two, I think. And then like the comedy, kind of the black comedy, right? So there, it's probably from that kind of douchebag parody system. But there been some more casting earlier this year that's been good as well, though, more in the parody, field and so on. Of course, again, talking about new isekais. But anyway, yeah, short review here, guys. Subscribe to the episode. Of course, tomorrow we're doing a review of episode 3 then. I'm looking forward to that, and also, of course, Dragon Maids, and it's a lot of Dragon waifus, yeah, a lot of Dragon waifus. And also on Thursday, I think we're finally gonna have Heidon from Inspecies Reviewers writer, right? Him and, of course, Cool Kyosho, the Dragon Maid author, have their own new anime coming too, right? They also probably have more Dragon waifus in that anime, so I'm just like, yeah, that's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome. I was like, oh shit, man. There's a Thursday. It's gonna be so much waifus. Yeah, a true man of culture anime, probably. It's like waifu fighting action. Something like that new anime, yeah. It's like waifus, and some men, though, but also obviously a lot of ecchi waifus and have a lot of fights. That's it to be it. From Mappa doing it. But anyway, see you guys and have a good day. We're coming up with Slime after this now here.